Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning portal for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam, and I'm going to be your educator and guide for CAT and management exams. In today's session, I'm going to have one more passage from CAT 18 paper, and with that, we will also have a discussion on some phrases and words which appeared in passages in 2018 and in 2019. If you are familiar with the meaning of these phrases and words, you may not stumble upon these words if they appear this year in this year CAT. Alright, so that with that whole purpose of giving you more clarity about the phrases and the words which often appear in academic passages, I'm coming up with this session today. So we have been talking about the passages of CAT 19 and CAT 18, and with that I have also been giving you the sources of these passages. Of newspapers, journals, as well as magazines have been the sources of these passages. So with that, let's begin today's session. Before that, let me give you a very brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I have around 12 years of work experience in test preparation industry, and I have trained students of CAT, GRE, and GMAT, and IELTS and TOEFL. My areas of expertise have been English and verbal reasoning. I also design assessment papers of English and reasoning for various exams for government bodies as well as for professional bodies. So I have been extensively involved in content development. I also had the opportunity to serve as an examiner of English for an international organization. Recently, I've authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. The book is available on Amazon. The video is brought to you by Unacademy. So let me take you to its portal and tell you step by step how you can be part of this and start your preparation for CAT and other exams. You have to download Unacademy Learning app from the Play Store and then fill in all the details which are required. In one of the corners, you will see 3 courses plus free courses, special classes. After downloading this app, you will be able to attend all the classes which are available in free courses and special classes. But if you want to attend classes for plus, you will have to subscribe to the course for CAT. When you go in the subscription, you will be shown all the features that you will be availing after subscribing. Features such as 30 hours of live sessions every day. Every day you will get to see more than 30 sessions being live on the platform of Plus. Now these sessions are delivered by 14 plus top educators of India who have experience of mentoring and guiding students in their respective domains. These educators have been guiding and teaching for these exams for years. The courses which are delivered by these 14 plus top educators are well structured and well designed. These courses strike right balance between conceptual clarity and testing so that you are prepared for your exam. Every month you see a new course being launched on Unacademy Plus platform. So a course which is designed to cater to a specific requirement of an exclusive exam. So all the needs are fulfilled, all the requirements of these exams are taken care of. As per your convenience and as per your availability, you can choose the time of your sessions. As per your preference and choice, you can choose your educator as well, right? So this is the freedom you enjoy with single subscription. You can attend classes of all these educators and you can attend all these classes with single subscription. When you go forward and subscribe the course, you will be shown different models of subscriptions which have been devised by Unacademy to suit your needs and your requirement of the exam. If you are preparing for CAT 2020 and you are targeting exams which are happening in December and January, you can go for a crash course and go for 1 month subscription. But if you're going for CAT 2021, you will have to go for yearly subscription and pay the amount which is there. Whichever model of subscription you choose here, if you type code Neelam, this reference code Neelam, you will be in a position to avail further 10% discount. Alright, so that is all about Unacademy. Don't wait for anything. Go in the Play Store, download Unacademy learning app, start attending special classes. If you are satisfied, subscribe to it and attend classes in plus category. Alright. Now let's start with today's agenda, that is CAT 18 passage, and with that the discussion on different phrases. Now the passage, as I said, I have been talking about the sources of these passages as well, so that you have some idea about what sources you should be referring to if you want to prepare for CAT 2020 or 2021. What kind of reading stuff you should include in your reading material if you want to prepare well for CAT 2021, right? And even if you are preparing for CAT 2020, what reading material you should go through in these 2-3 days. So the Atlantic Times, the New York Times and the Washington Post, these 3 newspapers prominently appeared in different passages. I mean, these newspapers were the sources of different passages, right? So examiners relied heavily on these newspapers to pick up the article to make the passages for your exam. But this year, in 2018 passage, the passage that I have picked up for today's discussion appeared in one of the magazines, right? So the magazine name is Scientific American, right? So this magazine discusses all the important issues related to science, and this passage was based on science, hence this came as the source of this passage. All right, so the article was written in 2018, and in 18 only it appeared in one of your passages or as one of your passages. So the article was very long, but the shortened version of this article was given as the passage. So if you want, you can always refer to this website or this online link which I have given, and you can always refer to this magazine to get more acquainted with science and related articles. Alright, let's start with today's passage. As has been the trend, I'll give you 30 seconds for each paragraph. I have segregated this entire passage into 5 paragraphs as was given in the original paper. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to have a thorough read of each paragraph, and then we are going to have a discussion. I'll explain to you the meaning and the content of the paragraph, and then we are going to approach the questions. Alright? 30 seconds begin. Alright? Fine. It was a very short passage. It was an introductory paragraph. Sorry, it was a very short paragraph. It was an introductory paragraph. So the only thing worse than being lied to is not knowing you are being lied to, right? So I'll translate it into Hindi so that you have clear idea what the sentence actually says, because this is what is going to set the tone of entire passage. Now, झूठ बोले जाने से बुरा ये है, आपको ये पता ही नहीं है कि आपसे झूठ बोला जा रहा है. You are in the illusion that people are speaking truth, whereas you are being lied to. So झूठ से बुरा ये है कि आपको ये पता ही नहीं है कि आपसे झूठ बोला जा रहा है. So this is what author starts this paragraph with. It's true that plastic pollution is a huge problem of planetary proportions, right? So वो ये बोल रहा है कि yes, it's true, it's correct कि जो plastic का pollution की problem है, it's huge, planetary proportion. So planet की जितनी बड़ी है, right? So proportion is huge. So he has chosen this word planetary proportion. He has actually coined this phrase. Planetary proportion, that means the plastic pollution is a huge problem. It is actually infesting entire planet. And it's true, we could all do more to reduce our plastic footprint. ये भी सही है कि हम लोग और भी कुछ कर सकते हैं to reduce our plastic waste. Footprint is like each person, how much waste he is contributing to the environment. The lie is that blame for the plastic problem is wasteful consumers and that changing our individual habits will fix it. Now I have boldfaced it, right? Because this is going to dictate the author's perspective in entire passage. What is the lie? ऊपर उसने start किया by saying that झूठ से ये बुरा है कि आपको ये पता ही नहीं है कि आपसे झूठ बोला जा रहा है, right? तो झूठ क्या है? The lie is that जो blame है plastic pollution का is wasteful consumers. This is the lie. That what is the reason of this plastic pollution? The wasteful consumers. We as consumers are leading to or are causing this plastic pollution. This is lie. And that changing our individual habits will fix it. Since we are held responsible for this plastic waste, if we change our habits, this problem can be fixed. These are two lies which are being perpetuated, which are being propagated. Alright, so this is the whole sum and substance of this paragraph. It says, झूठ बोलने से बुरा है, आपको पता ही नहीं है कि आपसे झूठ बोला जा रहा है. ये सही है कि प्लास्टिक वेस्ट की प्रॉब्लम बहुत बड़ी है, प्लैनेटरी प्रोपोर्शन की है, एंड वी कुड डू हम सभी कुछ ना कुछ कर सकते हैं टू रिड्यूस आवर फुटप्रिंट, वेस्ट फुटप्रिंट. बट द लाई इज, झूठ ये है कि हमसे ये बोला जा रहा है कि कंज्यूमर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस प्लास्टिक वेस्ट एंड इफ वी चेंज आवर हैबिट्स दिस प्रॉब्लम कैन बी फिक्स्ड. Right? So that is what is this paragraph saying. Second paragraph, 30 seconds again. Alright, I give you double the time, almost double the time, 50 seconds to read this paragraph because paragraph is long. Now, I'll read it out and explain to you. Recycling plastic is to saving the earth what hammering a nail is to halting a falling skyscraper. Now, author uses a metaphorical way to explain to you what he actually means. So, recycle करना plastic को वैसा ही है जैसा skyscraper को गिरने से बचाने के लिए you are hammering a nail to halt a falling skyscraper, उसको रोकने के लिए. A skyscraper is falling and you're trying to hammer a nail. Inadequate. You struggle to find a place to do it and feel pleased when you succeed. So आपको एक जगह मिल गई for nail and you feel you succeeded in doing it. But your effort is wholly inadequate because it's a nail which is not definitely going to be adequate for a skyscraper. And distract from real problem of why the building is collapsing in the first place. You are not addressing the root cause, you are not addressing the main cause, rather you are just doing something which is extremely inadequate, जो पर्याप्त नहीं है. So he gives the example of this skyscraper, falling skyscraper, to tell you that recycling plastic is inadequate, right? To address the problem of plastic waste. The real problem is that single-use plastic, the very idea of producing plastic items like grocery bags, which we use for an average of 12 minutes but can persist in the environment for half a millennium, is an incredibly reckless abuse of technology. Now he comes up with a real problem. He says, you're not addressing the real problem, why the skyscraper is falling. Now he talks about the real problem of plastic waste. See how the ideas are connected, logical connection. So he says that the very idea of producing plastic bags. The plastic bags which we are using average of 12 minutes. The huge consumption of these plastic bags. And they persist in the environment for half a millennium, right? Is an incredibly reckless abuse of technology. Look at the kind of words he has chosen to describe his feeling, his emotion about it. Reckless abuse of technology. So the technology has been used to produce these plastic bags, but this is a reckless use of technology, indiscriminatory use of technology for bringing degradation to the environment. Encouraging individuals to recycle more will never solve the problem. Look at the word never here, very extreme opinion. In author's opinion, doing recycling is never going to address the problem of a massive production of single-use plastic that should have been avoided in the first place. He says the problem is the massive production of single-use plastic items. So, if the problem is this, you cannot address the problem by recycling plastic, right? So this paragraph again is very pivotal to the understanding of author's entire argument here. He says problem is not this, problem is this, hence what you are doing is inadequate. With the example of hammer and nail, he tried to explain it to you that what you are doing is inconsequential, what you are doing is inadequate, right? A paragraph again, 30 seconds. Right? I hope you read the paragraph carefully and understood what it says. It's fairly simple. As an ecologist and evolutionary biologist, that's why he feels so passionately about it. The author, I have had a disturbing window into the accumulating literature on the hazards of pollution, plastic pollution, right? So he had enough data to substantiate his claims. Scientists have long recognized that plastics biodegrade slowly, if at all. साइंटिस्ट ने बहुत सालों से इस चीज़ को एक्नॉलेज किया है कि प्लास्टिक बहुत धीरे बायोडिग्रेड होती है, डिकम्पोज होती है, अगर होती है, इफ एट ऑल, एंड पोज मल्टीपल थ्रेट्स टू वाइल्ड लाइफ थ्रू इंटेंगलमेंट एंड कंजम्पशन. एंड वन, इट biodegrades very slowly and it actually poses a lot of challenges to wildlife. जानवरों को बहुत ज़्यादा challenges यानी threat होता है इसकी वजह से. Entanglement because उसमें उलझ जाते हैं, right? And consumption, they consume these plastic waste, wildlife, right? More recent reports highlight dangers posed by absorption of toxic chemicals in the water and by plastic odors that mimic some species' natural food. Now, two more challenges, two more problems have been stated in these two sentences. अभी हाल ही में जो reports आई है, recent report, वो ये highlight करती हैं कि ये absorb कर देते हैं toxic chemicals जो इन plastic में होते हैं and by plastic odor. So, usually, which is eaten by these some species, they resemble. The plastic item resemble their food, the food which is eaten, which is consumed by these animals. They mistake these plastic items as their food and they consume it, right? So these are two more challenges which are posed by plastic waste. Plastics also accumulate up the food chain. So it goes up the food chain and studies now show that we are likely ingesting it ourselves in seafood. So when we are actually consuming seafood, we are also ingesting the plastic waste because it has been eaten by those animals. So the severity of the problem, the magnitude of the problem, how many people, what is the extent of the problem is explained in this paragraph, right? Let's go for fourth paragraph, 30 seconds. Okay, fine. So it was a long paragraph. I hope you could go through this and understood what it meant actually, right? Now let me read it out for you and then I'll explain to you what it means in Hindi as well as in English. Beginning in the 50s, big beverage companies like Coca-Cola and Anheuser, along with Philip Morris and others, formed a you could have easily eliminated these examples, right? So in order to minimize your reading, you can easily do away with these examples. Non-profit called Keep America Beautiful. Its mission was to educate and encourage environmental stewardship in the public. So he talks about these companies which came up with a specific mission. It was a non-profit mission. The whole objective of the mission was to encourage environmental stewardship, leadership in the public. At face value, now look at this word, at face value, that means superficially, these efforts seem benevolent because they were started by Coca-Cola and these companies which were making beverages and using a lot of water and plastic because they were packaged in plastic solely. एफर्ट ऐसा लगा कि इट वाज बेनिवोलेंट कि वो लोग एक्चुअली एनवायरनमेंट के भले के लिए कुछ कर रहे हैं सुपरफिशियली बट दे ऑब्स्क्योर द रियल प्रॉब्लम उन्होंने रियल प्रॉब्लम को छुपाने की कोशिश की which is the role that corporate polluters play in the plastic problem. These corporate players play huge part in plastic waste, in the problem of plastic waste. So this actually hide their role or their contribution to the plastic waste, which is the role that corporate polluters play in the plastic problem. This clever misdirection, right? So very cleverly they projected themselves as the steward of the environment protection by launching this mission, Keep America Beautiful. They started this benevolent or philanthropic initiative, but it was actually to hide their ulterior motive. This clever misdirection has led journalist and author Roger to describe Keep America Beautiful as the first corporate greenwashing front. Now, ये जो किया गया इन कॉर्पोरेट्स के बिहाफ पे और ये कॉर्पोरेट्स ने जो किया कीप अमेरिका ब्यूटीफुल इस पूरे मिशन को एक जर्नलिस्ट एंड ऑथर हैं रॉजर जिन्होंने इसको कॉर्पोरेट ग्रीन वॉशिंग कहा है. So there is an eyewash, right? So eyewash is anything which is deceptive, which is there to trick you into believing something. So eyewash is anything which is created to deceive you. So author has used eyewash as greenwash, right? So he has coined another term here. So corporate greenwash. So it was benevolent initiative which was started by Coca-Cola and these companies as if they are projecting to be environment or the conserving the environment, but they were actually trying to obscure the reality. So this journalist called this whole initiative corporate greenwashing, as it has helped shift the public focus to consumer recycling behavior and actively thwarted legislation that would increase extended producer responsibility for waste management. Now, इस मिशन की वजह से क्या हुआ, पूरा का पूरा फोकस किस पे शिफ्ट हो गया, कंज्यूमर के बिहेवियर पे कि आप जो है अपना प्लास्टिक वेस्ट कम करो. कंज्यूमर इसने पूरा का पूरा फोकस शिफ्ट कर दिया कंज्यूमर पे और एक जो लेजिस्लेशन था जो आना था जिसकी वजह से प्रोड्यूसर की आंसरेबिलिटी जो ये प्रैक्टिस प्लास्टिक प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बढ़ जाती, उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी बढ़ जाती, वो लेजिस्लेशन को स्पॉट कर लिया उन्होंने. स्पॉट का मतलब है यहाँ पे उन्हें उस लेजिस्लेशन को आने ही नहीं दिया. They prevented this legislation from coming up, right? So that is why this was termed as the greenwash by this journalist and author. कि एक तरह से धोखा था ये कि आपने ये शुरू किया इनिशिएटिव ताकि पूरा का पूरा फोकस किस पे शिफ्ट हो जाए, कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर पे, और आपकी खुद की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जो है उससे लोगों का ध्यान रखें. The greatest success of Keep America Beautiful has been to shift the onus of environmental responsibility onto the public consumer while simultaneously becoming a trusted name in the environmental movement. So a lot of people believed that what they were doing was authentic, what they were doing was dictated by real motive of saving the environment, right? So that way, it became it was a success, right? So there were two success. One, they wanted to shift the focus from their responsibility to people's responsibility to it happen. And second, it became a successful name, trusted name in the environment movement, right? Next paragraph. All right. So here, the paragraph says, so what we can do to make responsible use of plastic a reality. So that's the concluding paragraph. First, reject the lie. So stop believing that consumer is the responsible and recycling plastic is going to address the problem, because that was a lie in the first paragraph. Litterbugs are not responsible for the global ecological disaster of plastic. Litterbugs, those people who throw garbage here and there. So again, what he stated in the first paragraph is reiterated in the last paragraph. Humans can only function to the best of their abilities, given time, mental bandwidth, and systematic constraints. Our huge problem with the plastic is a result of a permissive legal framework that has allowed the uncontrolled rise of plastic pollution, despite clear evidence of the harm it causes to local communities and the world's ocean. So there have been evidence, इस चीज़ का पुख्ता सबूत है कि लोकल कम्युनिटीज़ एंड वर्ल्ड ओशियन दोनों को बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान पहुंचा है प्लास्टिक पोल्यूशन की वजह से, लेकिन उसके बावजूद प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्शन की पूरी लॉबी काम कर रही है, या एक पूरी की पूरी परमिशन दी हुई है, लीगल फ्रेमवर्क. सो देयर इज परमिशन ऑफ लीगल फ्रेमवर्क. And the world's ocean recycling is also too hard in most parts of the US. He again talks about the limitation of recycling and lacks the proper incentives to make it work well, right? So again, he talks about the constraints of recycling, and in the first paragraph, in the first part of this paragraph, the litterbugs are not completely responsible for this, right? So he comes up with the same idea that he stated in the first paragraph in a different way, right? So I hope we are clear with the main idea of the passage that was clearly stated in the first paragraph. The main cause is not human consumption or consumer, or recycling is not the solution. And then he gave all the evidence, research, data to substantiate what he claimed in the first paragraph. Alright, I hope we have enough clarity to address the questions now. Let's address first question. And the question says, it can be inferred that the author considers the Keep America Beautiful organization. Now, greenwash was the term which was used by one author or journalist, right? And it has been cited by the author. That means author also agrees that it was nothing but an eyewash, right? Now look at the example, read the example options. An innovative example of a collaborative corporate social responsibility initiative. Innovative example, very positive word, whereas author has cited it as something which actually deceived people, because it shifted focus from real problem to the perpetuated problem. So first is not the answer. Very positive option, an innovative example. Second, an important step in sensitizing producers to the need to tackle plastic pollution. Again, something which is very positive, whereas eyewash or greenwash is used in a pejorative way. And that's not the intent of the author anyway. Third, a greenwash because it was a benevolent attempt to improve public recycling habits. It was a greenwash, termed as greenwash by the author and the journalist because it shifted people's attention from real problem to a minute problem, which was actually not leading to the problem. Answer is fourth. A sham. So sham is nothing but a pretense. A sham as it diverted attention away from the role of corporates in plastics pollution. Right? So this whole idea of calling it a green sham was to term superficially, if you remember the sentence which was there, superficially it seemed it was a benevolent attempt, but actually it was this. So superficially it was made out to be something else, so it was pretended to be a benevolent attempt, but it was actually done with the ulterior motive of serving the interest of corporates. Alright, so answer is fourth. Second question, which of the following interventions would the author most strongly support? Okay, look at the options. Since we have clearly understood what author's line of reasoning is, we can easily address the question without going through the paragraph again. Having all consumers change their plastic consumption habits? Not at all, because he clearly says it's never going to address the problem. Very clearly, categorically, he said this is not going to be addressed by consumer because the producers have to stop producing plastic waste or plastic bags. Recycling all plastic debris in the seabed. Again, that's not something which author would propose because what he was of the opinion in the passage was the producers are to take responsibility because they are producing this waste, the massive production of plastic waste. Completely banning all single-use plastic bags. Now, this and fourth, you may be confused between. Now, passing regulations targeted at producers that generate plastic products. Now, if you read the last paragraph very carefully, the first line of the last paragraph says, so what we can do to make responsible use of plastic a reality. That means he is not supporting the complete ban on plastic. He is endorsing the responsible use of plastic, right? So plastic is a reality. Using plastic is a reality, but how to use it more responsibly or how to be more environmentally conscious to use plastic in an appropriate way, right? That's what he actually means. That's why third can be eliminated. Fourth is the answer because ultimately he shifts the onus of this plastic waste on the producers, the massive production. Hence, those people who are given this completely permissible law framework, if you remember that line, that has to be checked, that has to be controlled. So that goes with fourth option, passing regulations targeted at producers that generate plastic products. All right. Question number 3, the author lists all of the following as negative effects of the use of plastic except. Now, third paragraph talked about the severity of the problem, how it affects ocean life, how it affects wildlife, how it affects animals, and then how it comes up in the food chain and affects human as well, right? So that is the severity of the problem. I hope we have enough clarity to address the question. First, air pollution caused during the process of recycling plastics. Nowhere author talks about the air pollution which is caused by the plastic problems, right? But nonetheless, let's go through other options. Poisonous chemicals released into the water and food we consume? Yes, and that is why we are also ingesting poison. Third, adverse impact on the digestive system of animal exposed to plastic? Yes, because they mistake these items as their food items because of their color, because of their size, or because of their shape. Maybe they are mistaken for their food items and hence they consume it and it goes into their digestive system. Fourth, slow pace of degradation or non-degradation of plastics in the environment. Yes, in the first paragraph, author said it takes a lot of time. If it happens in millennia. All right. So answer is first, air pollution is not mentioned. Question number, question number 3. In the second paragraph, the phrase, what hammering a nail is to halting or falling skyscraper means. Second paragraph, right? He gives the analogy of halting a falling skyscraper with a nail, as we are addressing the problem of plastic waste with recycling. He draws that analogy to drive home his message very clear that this is inadequate. Now let's see what it actually means. Focusing on single-use plastic bags to reduce the plastic footprints. Right? So that's first now the analogy which author meant by hammering a nail. Encouraging the responsible production of plastic by firms. He did not mean this when he talked about this example. He was saying what we are doing is inadequate. Relying on emerging technologies to mitigate the ill effects of pollution, plastic pollution. Fourth, focusing on consumer behavior to tackle the problem of plastic pollution. So we are focusing on consumer behavior, and that is not sufficient, that is not adequate, right? As a nail is not adequate to hold a falling skyscraper. So with that analogy, we can easily understand that he actually meant what we are doing is not adequate, and what we are doing is holding consumer responsible for the plastic waste. Right? So answer is fourth. Okay, that was fourth. Now it's question number 5th. In the first paragraph, the author uses lie to refer to. I think I explained that paragraph very carefully. The first paragraph talked about what lie is, right? I boldfaced that statement. I made you read that again so that you have clarity what author's main argument is going to be in the entire passage. So understatement of the effects of recycling plastics. That is not the understatement. He says, we are being told that we are responsible, whereas companies are responsible. We are being told that recycling plastic is going to fix the problem, whereas this is not going to fix the problem. So lie, these are lies, right? So understatement of the effect of recycling plastic waste, no, that's not the answer. Understatement of the enormity of the plastic pollution problem. He is actually saying the problem is so severe, right? So that's not what he actually meant. Blame assigned to consumer for indiscriminate use of plastic. Fourth says, fact that people do not know they have been lied to. So the lie is this, right? Lie is that we are told we are responsible for this plastic waste, whereas those who are producing these plastic bags are responsible for massive production. Answer is no. All right. So with that, we come to the end of this passage. And now let's talk about some words and phrases which appear. Planetary proportion is huge proportion, right? Here, entanglement is a situation or relationship that you are involved in and that is difficult to escape from. So you are entangled in a situation. That means you are kind of trapped in a situation, which makes it difficult for you to escape, which makes it difficult for you to disentangle. So entangle का मतलब है complicated situation में फंस जाना. Disentangle का मतलब है उसको सुलझाना. Disentangler are some products, some beauty products which bring shine and smoothness to your hair, right? So that is disentangler. Entangle means uljana, entangled web of wires, right? So here animals are entangled in the plastic waste. The act or the action or fact of entangling or being entangled. Many dolphins die from entanglement in fishing nets. Now with the example, I guess the meaning is explicitly clear. So they are trapped in that fishing net and hence they die. So same happens with their plastic waste. A lot of oceanic life is endangered because of the entanglement in plastic waste. Some more words from the passage. Obscure. So the these corporate giants which started this campaign, Keep America Beautiful, it was just to obscure the people from the main issue, right? So obscure is to make it difficult to see, hear or understand something, right? So उन्होंने इस तरह से इसको propagate किया कि लोगों को ये समझ में नहीं आया ये एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम को प्रोड्यूसर्स खुद हैं जो इतना बड़े वॉल्यूम में प्लास्टिक को प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. इफ दे डू नॉट प्रोड्यूस, people will not be consuming so much plastic, right? But they do need so much plastic to fill the beverages that they are making, right? And that is why they are relying too much on plastic. And that is actually leading to plastic waste, right? So they were trying to obscure the main problem. So they were trying to make it difficult for people to understand what the real problem is. So this is how obscure is used here. But in other sentences, see how obscure is used. So the view was obscured by fog. So if it is foggy, you don't have a clear vision. You cannot see clearly, right? So that is obscure. So it becomes very hazy when you have a foggy morning or foggy evening. We must not let these minor details obscure the main issue. So the main issue should be the focal point. Let not be distracted by these minor issues. Let not be obscured by these minor issues. Let's stay focused on the main issue. So this is what the sentence means. So you can use this word in different contexts. A shadow fell across her face, obscuring her expression. So I could not see what her expression was because it was obscured. So unable to see, or something which makes it difficult for you to see, hear or understand. So one more meaning of obscure which I have taken up, not known to many people, is also obscure, right? So he lived in oblivion. So you might have come across this word as well, which is used for those people who are not into limelight, who are not very famous, who stay away from the glare and the glitz of media. So they live in oblivion. Same is obscure. Something which is obscure is not known to many people. An obscure island in the Pacific Ocean. An obscure 20th century mystique. So a mystique who is not known to a lot of people, right? So obscure, a person who is not known to many people, or a thing which is not famous and popular. So two meanings of obscure. An eyewash, I discussed this term extensively to explain how an argument can be deceptive or deceiving, or can be designed to make you believe in something which is actually not true. That is an eyewash, right? Examiner is going to give you an eyewash option, which appears to be the answer, but is actually not the answer, right? They always create some eyewash option. Among 4 options which are created by the examiner, only one is the answer. Others are created to be an eyewash. That means they are designed to trick you into believing this could be the answer, this also could be the answer, right? So the eyewash, I hope you understand what an eyewash is. So words, promises, etc. that are not true or sincere, right? So that is completely eyewash and you know it. Another word which is also used with wash only, I took up that as well, hogwash. So an idea or any argument that you think is utterly stupid is hogwash, right? So when the former president of America came up with the idea of erecting a wall on the border of Mexico and America, so a lot of people said it was just a hogwash. It was not something which could come into reality, or which could actually happen, right? So hogwash. He denounced his opponent's speech as pure political hogwash, right? So eyewash and hogwash. Stewardship, the initiative which was started by these companies like Coca-Cola and other companies. So stewardship is the act of taking care of or managing something, for example, property, an organization, money, or valuable projects. So it's basically leadership. As a steward, you initiate something, you start doing something, you show leadership quality. The organization certainly prospered under his stewardship. So he was steering the entire organization. So under his stewardship, under his vision, under his leadership. Alright? Now thwarted. So if you remember, this word came into the 4th paragraph, where because of this whole Make America Beautiful campaign, these organizations, these corporates thwarted the legislation. If that legislation had been passed, these corporates would have been responsible for waste management, plastic waste management. In order to avoid that responsibility, they try to shift the focus on consumer behavior, consumer plastic waste behavior, right? The thought is to prevent somebody from doing what they want to do, right? So this year, because of this was marked by coronavirus and pandemic, and because of this infection and because of this pandemic, a lot of plans we had for our travel, for our studies, for doing certain other things were thwarted, completely thwarted, right? So because of this pandemic, we were prevented from doing certain things that we had planned to do earlier, right? I hope it doesn't happen with 2021 and okay, fine. So to prevent somebody from doing what they want to do, thwart something or to thwart somebody's plan. His ambition to be a painter was thwarted by poor eyesight. He wanted to be a painter, but because of his eyesight, poor eyesight, he had to stifle his desire to be a painter. So it was thwarted, it was prevented. She was thwarted in her attempt to take control of the party, right? She wanted to dream the party, but it was thwarted by someone else, right? To stop somebody from happening or stop something from happening. A holiday plan was thwarted by the airline pilots' strike, right? So thwarted is to fail something from happening, right? Or stop something from happening, prevent something from happening. A sham. So in one of the options, this word appears something that is not what it seems to be and is intended to deceive people. It was all sham, that means it was all pretense. So what author said was this attempt by Coca-Cola and other companies. It seemed to be a philanthropic initiative, but was actually a sham. It was just a pretense because they wanted to shift focus from their responsibility to consumers' responsibility, right? So the actual sham means anything which is intended to deceive people, who pretends to be something they are not. So look at the example. It turned out that he wasn't a real doctor at all. He was just a sham. Now the correct word or another word which could be used in this sentence is phony, right? So a phony is always a pretentious doctor, a person who pretends to have medicinal skills, who pretends or claims to have medical degree but actually is fake, right? That is a phony. So same can be sham, right? He was just a sham, but phony is always doctor. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Quack is always a doctor. Phony can also be synonymous with sham, but quack is always a doctor, right? They claimed that the election had been fair, but really it was a sham, right? So it was just a pretense, it was not actually a fair election. He isn't really upset, he's just shamming. So that way it's verb as well, adjective as well as verb. They made a fortune through some sham property deals, fake property deals, right? So it was just a sham. Pretense, phony, quack, some synonyms. Now, as I said, I'm going to pick up some phrases as well, which time and again appear in the passages. So I picked up these phrases which appeared in 2015, 16, 18 and 19 passages, right? The first phrase for today, if you remember, we picked up some economic phrases yesterday. We did glass ceiling, we did silver ceiling, fringe benefits. We also did laissez-faire, right? I don't remember other phrases, but I picked up a couple of other phrases as well, which were from economic domain, right? So if there is a passage based on finance, economics, you should be aware of these phrases and their meanings, right? So try to widen your understanding of these phrases and try to gather the meaning of phrases which appear in art, philosophy and literature as well. White man's burden. That's the first phrase that I'm going to explain to you today. So the white man's burden is basically a phrase that has been used by Europeans, usually by Britishers. Now, Britishers, or broadly all Europeans, had this condescending feeling about other races or other countries' people. So they had this strong belief that they are more cultured, they are more civilized, and they are more intellectually advanced than other races and the the people of other caste and people of other countries. Hence, it is upon them, it is incumbent on them to civilize other nations. So that was the whole idea they came up with, to rationalize their policy of colonization. Why they are colonizing different countries? Because they have the responsibility to make them civilized, right? So this was again a kind of an eyewash that they created to rationalize what? Their imperialistic policies, right? So I'll read it out. I hope you understood what it means. It was first used by Rudyard Kipling in one of his poems. It was used, it's white men's burden. So these white men, mainly Britishers, assumed that they have this responsibility to make other people civilized, to make other people cultured, to make other people educated, right? So they brought it upon themselves. They assume they are more superior, they are superior to others, they assume they are advanced intellectually, and hence they have this responsibility to make other people civilized, right? That is the burden which they took upon themselves. But this is nothing but an eyewash which they created to rationalize the whole imperialistic policy to colonize weaker nations or poor nations. All right? My white men's burden. The phrase that was used mainly in 19th century to express the idea that European countries had a duty to run the countries and organization of people in other parts of the world with less money, education or technology than the Europeans, right? The task believed by white colonizers to be incumbent upon them of imposing Western civilization on the black inhabitants of European colonies, right? So it happened in other countries as well. It happened in other colonies as well. All right. So white man is Britisher, and the burden is nothing but the responsibility of making other people civilized. They assume, they presupposed they have this responsibility. Another term which often appear in newspapers, in news debates as well, that India is turning into a banana republic. So whenever there is a hot topic being debated on news channel and a lot of people are involved in the panel, and the issue is related with the failure of law and order in a state or in a part of a state, we claim India is turning into a banana republic, right? So banana republic is usually where there is failure of law and order, right? So when there is kind of anarchy, right? So that is what is banana republic. So if you go by the specific definition of this phrase, a poor country with a weak government, where the government is not sufficiently powered, does not have enough power and authority to control and govern the country, right? That depends on foreign money. So a lot many times Pakistan is also termed as banana republic, right? So India is definitely not a banana republic. So I was talking about those people only who come on news channel and claim India is turning into banana republic because they feel that in some parts of the country there is no control of the government. So banana republic can be any part or any situation where you feel there is no government at all, there is no law and order, right? So the tiny country has often been described as a banana republic. So a lot of nations in Africa, African continent, where there is absence of law and order, or where there is absence of a civilian government which is elected by people, because there has been monarchy or there has been autocracy, and after the subversion of those people there's complete chaos and there's complete commotion, so it turns into a banana republic. A lot of countries in Africa are banana republic because there is no strict rule and law and order which prevails in this country, right? So that way you understand banana republic. White magic, as we explained what black magic is. So white magic is something which has positive connotation, right? So black magic is always something which is done for harming others, which is to cast a spell on someone, to take advantage of someone, or to harm someone, to cause damage to someone. White magic, in contrast to black magic, is done for a benevolent purpose, for benefiting someone or for helping someone. That is what is white magic, right? Without malicious intent. So black magic is done with malicious intent. White magic is perceived to be done for some benevolent reasons. I believed in black magic and white magic, that there were things for good and things for harm, right? Yellow journalism, right? So the word comes for journalism, and yellow journalism is an American phrase, but it is widely used in other discussions as well. So this is not confined to American narrative. It is widely used whenever you talk about this practice. The practice is that news reports or news anchors or news channels speak or cover news in a very exaggerated way. Usually, they try to fabricate the story in order to create sensation among their viewers or their readers, right? So their sole objective is to create the eyeballs, more and more eyeballs for their news items, or to increase the viewership for their channels. So with the sole objective, they do everything, right? So they compromise the standard of journalism, they compromise the fact and the objectivity which comes with journalistic standards, and they are driven solely with the purpose of creating TRP, right? So that is what is yellow journalism. It can be in print media, it can also be in electronic media, mainly in electronic media. But yellow journalism is usually associated with print media only, right? So that relies on sensationalism and lurid exaggeration to attract more and more readers or viewers, right? So the kind of journalism that you see on most of the channels in India or otherwise in other countries as well, you will see that they have compromised on journalistic ethics or journalistic standards. So these news reporters do anything to attract the reader or to attract the viewer. So that way of journalism is yellow journalism. Now, one more term which is associated with journalism is checkbook journalism. Now, checkbook journalism is again the compromising situation in journalistic behavior in which a journalist pays money to get the source of the news or to get the news from a person or a thing or an organization, right? So basically, what these journalists are supposed to do is investigate the truth. They should always try to investigate what truth is, what are the facts, and what is the actual story, and they should corroborate all the facts with verifiable data. That's what they are supposed to do. Instead of doing this or all these things, they rely on a specific resource, they pay that resource the money and get the piece of news, right? So that is compromising the objectivity, that is compromising the journalistic standard. You are paying in order to get the piece of news or the item of news, right? So that is what is checkbook journalism. The definition goes, the practice of journalists paying people large amount of money to give them personal or private information for a newspaper story. So those people who are well connected in an industry, those people who are placed on a very influential position in a sector or an organization, they always have the benefit of getting a lot of money from these journalists by giving them tip-off of a story or maybe whole facts of the story, all facts of the story. So that is how these people who are well connected in an industry are in an advantageous situation, right? So this is what is checkbook journalism. These journalists are actually not investigating, they are not doing any kind of investigative journalism, they are not trying to corroborate the facts. What they are doing is just paying people off and buying the news item. Alright, so yellow journalism, checkbook journalism. Last phrase for today is apartheid. I took the phrase reverse apartheid, but with that I also thought of taking apartheid first so that I'll explain to you what it actually means, and then you will understand what reverse apartheid is, right? It appeared in one of the passages in ZAD in recent years. So apartheid was a political system in South Africa, right? So this is the country apartheid is associated with, and Nelson Mandela was the man who decimated this whole practice in South Africa. So it was a political system in South Africa in which people were divided into racial groups and kept apart by law. So that was apartheid. So there were different laws which segregated people on the basis of their race only, black and white. Those people who were native to South Africa and those people who came and colonized South Africa. There were different laws which were governing those people. And Nelson Mandela protested and led a huge movement against apartheid law, and finally he became the president of South Africa, right? So apartheid was that movement, apartheid was that entire political system. Look at the example. He praised her role in the struggle against apartheid, this political system which existed, an anti-apartheid movement, right? So the movement which was started by Nelson Mandela. Now, what is reverse apartheid, which appeared in the passage, is a perceived bias against white people following the end of apartheid. Now, because there was long-standing hostility between black and white, and now there is equality in South Africa because the law has been abolished. This law has been abolished, and now there is equality of law, and there is a rule of law in country. So now black have also become empowered in that country, right? And since a lot of mobilization is happening, since a lot of movements have happened there, and now there is a kind of feeling which is against white, because black have always been segregated, they have always been subject to a lot of atrocity by white. So there is a feeling which has turned into hostility for white. So anti-sentiments, biasness for white. That is what is reverse apartheid. So though it's not clearly the segregation, it's not clearly that discriminatory, but there is a biasness for white in black people because they have not forgotten the injustice or inequity or the atrocity which happened with them, right? So I'm not trying to justify it, but I'm just possibly giving you the background to give you why this happened, why this biasness is there among blacks for white. So this is known as reverse apartheid. All right. So the phrases that I picked up: white man's burden, right? So associated with Europeans, especially Britishers, who feel that they have this responsibility to guide others, to educate others, and to civilize others. And that's why they made a lot of countries their colonies. Banana Republic, where there is utter absence of law and order, right? So there is no government, there is no semblance of government. That's Banana Republic. White magic, in contrast with black magic, white magic is done for the purpose of benefiting others. Yellow journalism is the journalism which creates sensation. And checkbook journalism is the way of paying people off to get news items. Apartheid and reverse apartheid. Also, apartheid is that discriminatory law which happened, which existed in South Africa for a long time against black people. Reverse apartheid is a kind of prejudice and bias which is there among black people for white people. All right? Fine. So here I come to today's here I come to the end of today's session. I hope you learned something from the passage, from the phrases that I picked up, as well as from the words I discussed from the passage. Tomorrow I'll have one more passage from Cat 18, so stay tuned on this channel and do let me know if you want any more topic to be covered before your exam on 29th, this Sunday. Alright? I have covered all the passages from Cat 19. Now I'm going to cover all the passages of Cat 18 before your exam. If there is any other topic that you need more clarification or you need more conceptual clarity on, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to cover that up. Alright? Thank you so much for watching and all the best for your session, for your exam.